Salutations, dear viewers, you're on with the Nexon of the Vast Nexus, and welcome to a Fortnite video. Not technically Broken Royale this time. Some people might think I'm a little harsh on Fortnite as a whole. For the record, it's Battle Royales I don't like. I find Fortnite's mechanics are not to my skill set, perhaps not to my tastes, but Fortnite is not in and of itself a bad game. That being said, it has been perhaps mismanaged into oblivion. But this season, which I have opted to skip out on, has to some extent addressed issues that I've made with regards to this game. And I want to take this opportunity to make it clear exactly what I'm referring to. You see, Battle Royales are random. It's a key component in them that you really can't try to get rid of without changing it from a Battle Royale to something more arena-oriented. You have random loot from drops. You have random drops, where you end up, or at least where the bus route goes. You're given some control over that, but that comes at the cost of slowing the player's entry into the match. And the thing is, it was really popular with the youth crowd because, to some extent, that random number generation, the RNG, made skill not an unimportant factor, but less of a factor towards victory, because it doesn't matter how good you are, if the first chest you open bequeaths you with a gray pistol, and the chest that your opponent opens gives them a legendary assault rifle. You're basically just over at that point. Where the circle ends up is another random factor, and the thing is that it appealed to the youth crowd precisely because they're not skilled. Because skill comes through experience, and when they start playing, or especially when they're young and they don't have the ability to perhaps analyze what makes a better gameplay strategy, skill is not part of their repertoire. So the random chance, the slot machine aspect of it, was very rewarding for them, because even though they're not skilled, they can win. The problem, however, is that fast forward to, say, Season X in Fortnite. At that point, the people who have been playing it from day one have been playing it for 2 whole years. That's a lot of time to get good. And they had. Some of them very good. And the problem was, now all of a sudden, they have this notion of, it doesn't matter how good I am, I still get completely screwed over because the RNG doesn't favor me. The issue is, of course, is that does highlight a bit of ignorance there, that it was the RNG that drew them to the property in the first place, or at least drew them to the gameplay mode, and now they're criticizing the RNG because it's no longer rewarding for them. The issue is that Epic has tried to violate the old adage of, you can please some of the people all the time, and all of the people some of the time, but you can't please all the people all the time. The thing that continued to draw people into Fortnite, and into Battle Royales in general, is the random nature of it. Now, true, it's usually the same maps with subtle alterations depending on the Battle Royale in question. Few things get tweaked here and there. I mean, there's this notion of a infinite number of possible things that can, happen, or so forth. He was going straight for the payphone for a challenge, and I ruined his day. I was a bit salty at this point. I just lost a match where I died in the first 2 minutes, which, But the thing is that the youth crowd didn't notice that, hey, it's the randomness that's why we came here. But now all of a sudden we're skilled, and we want our skills to mean something. We want our skills to get us the dub. Make the game more dependent on skill, and there's also a financial incentive behind the company, because, Major League Gaming is worth a lot of money, and a highly competitive environment does not like things being random, because, again, these people grind, they get their skills, straight and in order, and, they want that to mean something. So, trying to appeal to the original Fortnite players by providing them with an experience that reduced the importance of RNG on the experience, and at the same time make boatloads of money because of, Major League Gaming, they really remove the thing that I think makes Battle Royales appealing. Now, again, for the record, I don't like Battle Royales. However, I can see the appeal of a battle royale that sort of is true to what the genre originally was and is supposed to be. LOL, ISO random. The thing is, think of like Chapter 2, Season 1. The randomness was gone. The weapon selection had been padded back to its absolute minimum. Mobility options had been narrower than they'd ever been. And there was no, like, special locations for loot. Although there's a bit of an argument on whether that favors skilled play because of the challenge, or is better for, you know, I'm not going to get into that here. So the thing is that I opted out of Fortnite, and I have not regretted it, because it has freed up time for other things, some of which more important, some of which more entertaining. I dropped out of Fortnite season before this season, the Primal season, and for me the reasoning was, dear God, this game has just become extremely competitively oriented. I mean, it always was, but it's only getting worse, because the casuals, and I've made this statement in a Broken Royale rant, they have no safe place to just have fun in the game. Because you drop in and you just die, because 90% of the lobbies, 90% of the people who still play the game at this point, are people who have grinded it out and allow it to be their whole-consuming, you know, time sponge, passion, whatever you want to call it. And I made some statements on what might fix that. Again, that's not the point of this video, or this monologue. The thing is, I made a point that in order to reward skilled play, Fortnite's gunplay skills are crude. You don't have weapon attachments, there's not a huge variety of weapons to choose from, and the weapons are hit scanned, which means that drift, or, I mean, even, like, innate weapon inaccuracy, weapons mastery has never really been a thing in Fortnite. It has always been about the builds, which is part of the reason that I am more critical of Fortnite than, say, another battle royale like Apex Legends or Warzone. Interesting side note, the moment I think of maybe giving Warzone a little shot, you know, toe in the water, see how it feels, I find out that the thing is swamped with cheaters and practically nothing's being done about it right now. So no, I think I'm sticking with my standard of staying 1.5 miles away from every battle royale that I can see, unless otherwise motivated to do otherwise. The thing is that because the builds were the skill element in the game, their attempt to reward players who had accumulated skill with builds led to the builds becoming overpowered. A meta was generated in which it didn't matter how good a shot you were, not really, it mattered how well you could 90 and wall up, and your whole building ethos was the important factor of the game, and the shooting, you know, that's sort of the reason why I'm overly critical of Fortnite, because I like the shooting. The building, the thing is, of course, I made the point that that's what puts casual players off, because you can transfer, like, shooting skills between one shooter and another. There's always differences, there's always variations, but, you know, shooting in one game is shooting. And it's sort of a fun experience. I mean, you get to play with virtual guns. The building is not something that, prior to coming to Fortnite, you're going to be super familiar with or even super enthusiastic about. And so the casual players come in, you know, oh, I'll put a wall here. And then immediately get 90s cranked, fast edited, you know, dunked on. It just immediately goes badly for them. And so they immediately leave, because it's like, well, what the hell is this? You know, I can at least get close to the end in something like Apex or Warzone, but this building thing is just garbage. Perhaps Epic deserves more credit for listening to the player base than we've given them, because this season, which I feel perhaps a slight tinge of regret for not having participated in, actually answered the question, what do you do in Fortnite if you don't feel like doing all that building nonsense? Well, this season offered you ways. You had saucers, which could just annihilate builds. The only way to really counter them is to shoot back at them, shoot them down. And people who just mindlessly turtle and all just got themselves annihilated. I have several videos of my wins from saucers, which help to highlight that point. And we have a railgun now, which bores straight through walls. We have a beacon thing, which can highlight enemies through walls. Of course, now you have to sacrifice 2 of your weapon slots for one gimmick. But you also have the cannon thing, which destroys any builds in its way, but basically does no damage to players. You can pick up objects and throw them at builds. Countermeasures to builds have been created. And the rarity of these countermeasures and their difficulty of implementation are what has prevented the player base from having the same knee-jerk reaction they did back during the submachine gun meta. Because the idea was that building became irrelevant because you could just spray it down with a submachine gun. It's like, yes, but you're neglecting the trade-off there. Submachine guns are, even back then, not particularly accurate. If you can open up some distance on your opponent, then the submachine gun it doesn't do any good. The problem, of course, is that these building types, again, with a lack of shooting skill, always tend to rush, because they can't hit their opponent unless they're only 5 paces away. And the thing is, that eventually got nerfed. Submachine guns are probably still one of the best options for knocking down builds, but they're significantly less powerful, especially against players. Not that this video is going to indicate that, you'll see what I mean. But the thing is, this season introduced exotics, and I made the point that what really makes a Battle Royale work is the exotics, the weird stuff. And most of the exotics are geared towards anything other than building. Like, if you want an exotic that works towards building, even though it's a sort of zero skill thing, think of a porta-fort or a porta-fortress. Because that exploits the building thing, but it allows a person who couldn't throw together a 1x1x3 to save their life to create a massive fort to defend themselves. The exchange being that it's a particularly rare item to come across. Now, all of these exotics seem to be there to counter builds, to give players who, you know, aren't familiar with that a chance, which it does. Now, to some extent, the fact that they've introduced a counter to the build meta to some extent shows that Fortnite has wisened up the fact that not only have these players who've been playing since day one gotten older and more experienced, they now have things like allowances and early jobs and lower age gating, which broadens the prospective games that they can play, and if they really want a game that's going to reward their skill, they're not going to play a Battle Royale. Because like I said, random thing is always a part of Battle Royale, it always has been, it always will be. So it's not really going to reward your skill the same way an arena shooter or a tactical shooter does. So Fortnite has gone back to basics. The whole season's been very juvenile. You know, that's not an insult, that's just a statement of fact. It's very cartoony. The aliens are like from a cartoony Z-Rusty 1960s kind of thing. And to some extent, you can sort of feel that with the build counters and the themes, they're trying to attract a new youth crowd, and they are not abandoning, but moving away from the older crowd that, you know, sort of demanded that the game be more rewarding for skill and less random. Because the reality of the matter is that you can't appease those folks. Not with this format. It's just not going to happen. So, that's part of the reason why I feel like my opting out on this season may have been unfortunate. Because with the sort of metas that exist right now, this season could have been fun. And I've popped into a match here or there, because why not? But ultimately, I don't... Yeah, I didn't know I could lock the prop at this point, so I kind of... This is literally right out of Prop Hunt. I can't exactly say that this Prop-O-Matic is entirely original. In fact, I can say quite the contrary, it's very unoriginal, but still. But here's another thing, this isn't necessarily a build counter, but it's a stealth enhancer. It allows you to ramp up your camping efforts, which I think you all know at this point is sort of my forte. It's my entire bread and butter. Honestly, this is the first time I've used a Prop-O-Matic. I should be a flower there. Don't mind me. And the thing is, my concern is that this season is nearing its end. I mean, it's basically past time that I'd be able to actually grind up for level 100, and by extension, I'm not too motivated to play it at all. But the thing is that the season's nearing its end, and I'm hoping that this trend continues. De-emphasize the builds. It's all I asked, and it's what we got this season. Builds could be countered. There were ways. Not even necessarily super rare ways. You could craft stuff for it. You could find it practically all over the map. It was everywhere. My concern is if Epic tries to do a stupid and tries again to appease all of the people all the time. if they listen to the more experienced crowd, the crowd that basically wants them to make it less RNG, make it more skill-based, and emphasize the builds, stress the builds. The builds are the most important thing. I'm a flower pot right now, which is why I hopped up on the desk. If they listen to that crowd, all this stuff will be gone. And, I mean, a lot of it's themed towards the theme of the season, and I'm concerned that this season is sort of intended to be a break from Fortnite as usual before we get back to Fortnite as usual, in which case, I'd have to retract all my comments about them wisening up and trying to make it more appealing to less experienced players. Because they basically just gave players a breather to come back, and then they're just going to dump everything on. Because again, they're trying to please everybody at the same time. You can't. You either have to pick the low-skilled casual, not necessarily the young, but the casual crowd, or the hardcore sweaty pro crowd. Either that, or if you want to please both, put all the sweaty stuff, the RNG minimization, all of that in Arena, and just let standard Battle Royale be a wacky, fun, thing, as it should be. I mean, another Battle Royale I was interested in checking out is Tab G. Why? Because Tab G is about as lol ISO random as a Battle Royale can get. It's just this goofy, wacky, zany, out there thing, and that's the appeal of it. That's sort of the only real appeal that I find of Battle Royales have. The bigger the toy box, the sort of more wackier, random stuff that you have. And that also ties into the notion of every match being unique, because the more tools you have, the less likely you are to find one for a given set of attempts, and then the more often you're going to play to find that tool and find out how to use it, and your opponents will have all sorts of other wacky stuff as well, and it all sort of works if you let it. Fortnite, prior to the season, particularly after about Season 5, the original Season 5, they didn't let that happen. Everything kind of got a little bogged down in the note, because people were complaining about how wacky things got, and it's like, how little they understood that wackiness was, to some extent, the best part of the game. Not the build sweatiness stuff, because they were all excited about that then, but here's the thing. It's easy for them, when there's a bunch of casual players in the lobby, to just drop 10 bombs, 20 bombs, even 30 bombs, because of how much they grind and how much skill they have. The problem is, they don't realize that, that's plenty of fun for you. It's no fun for them. The guy's getting eliminated by you because of how sweaty you are, and they leave. And before you know it, your only company are sweaty people like you, who are just as skilled, they've grinded it out just as much as you have, and all of a sudden, that superiority, that god complex you get, poof, vanishes. And to some extent, your chances of succeeding or failing come down to whether or not you're lucky. It goes back down to the origin of RNG. And again, the issue is that RNG is not going to reward your skill, and they want it to. They want the game to reward their skill. The problem is, you're not going to get that from a Battle Royale. I mean, Apex Legends has caught on to this. They have an arena mode now. A single life, close quarters combat, they're keeping up with the curve. And Fortnite this season sort of did as well, but that's my concern. That's what worries me. Is it going to stick? Are they going to keep things lol ISO random, keep them cartoony and fun, or are they going to go back to sweaty, build-centric gameplay that does not give players who aren't good at building or just don't care for it an opportunity to, have things their way? Because for me, the appeal of this game is the fact that, where else are you going to find this many licensed skins? You could be a Xenomorph, or you could be the Terminator, Sarah Connor, or Rick of Rick and Morty. I mean, you're not going to find that in Apex Legends. You're not going to find that in Warzone. And that's the thing, Fortnite, its appeal is the fun, and the fun just drained out of it. It just got leached out. It just turned into this endless, I'm so good, I can just sweat on all these kids. Get out of my lobby. And I suppose the whole point of this video is just keep Fortnite fun, Epic. Like, it doesn't have to be like this season, but what you did here was smart. Whether it was an accident or deliberate, it was smart. Keep it fun, keep it enjoyable for the casual shitters like me, so that we actually keep coming back to and playing your game, because I mean, this season has a lot that would appeal to me. I didn't play it. because of the sweatiness, and like I said, it doesn't matter even if Fortnite fixes it, it has become an instance of too little too late. Yeah, he almost shit himself right there, I'd wager. He moved at the last second for that not to hit. Yeah, this is why I don't do cartoon skins. Impossible to miss that cel-shaded Rick Sanchez. Impossible. I was going to axe these things down, but I don't... My controls are actually lagging now, because this is Oceania still. Look at that, he put up a 1x1x3 and he can't shoot to save his life, which is why I win. So yes, Fortnite did something right. They actually created a safe bastion for the casual players. This past season, will it stick? Is the question. Will it remain? So here's Rick being not at all to the skill level of his character. Oh, great minds, I see. Yeah, no, he already had that guy zeroed. Besides, a conspicuous bush on a hill with no other bushes, the whole point of camouflage is to look like your environment, not distinct from it. Oh, that storm, he had to move. Oh, I didn't even need to make the headshot. I did, because I didn't know he was so low. I'm amazed he didn't buy it right there. Yeah, this isn't super sweaty, because that tower guy would have W-keyed so hard if it was. He's just turtling in his little tower, which ended up killing him, ultimately. Dude, what are you doing? It's not gonna work. I mean, he might get a free hit. Oh, wow, really? Oh, he waited for my third party. Smart. Sneaky and smart. Props to you, good sir. Just... yeah... you were in the wrong place at the wrong time, because I just railgunned him into oblivion. Next time, try a different universe, Rick. This one, I am king. Yeah, don't shoot out the tower or anything. What, he thought I wouldn't notice him? Yeah, he thought I wouldn't notice him? Wait, is he wearing a legit skin or is he actually disguised? Because it looks like he's actually disguised. Well, we'll find out once I just start leaning into his face. They always lose awareness of their surroundings when they start building. That's why I chose then to move. Oh, he's panicking now. Why does he think building a huge platform is going to help? It's supported by a 1x1. Again, a sweatier player would have immediately dropped down and tried going aggressive with a shotgun. Well, thank you all so much for watching and listening. I hope you're all staying happy and healthy out there, and as always, fare thee well.